to Mike Guiry, who's our speaker today, for coming out and really kicking off all of our portfolio review events for the year. Today he'll be talking about different ways that you can present your portfolio, how you can talk about your work. Of course, you can use that at work, whether you're a student, maybe in interviews. But this is also a good way to learn some tips for when it does come time for portfolio review in a couple months, to use those to talk about your work. All right, so first off, also want to say thank you to our chapter sponsors, UNF. I know we have a couple of professors here, and I see we have some students on as well. So thank you for joining today. We also want to thank Jacksonville University, who's also a chapter sponsor, as well as Adobe. So with all that being said, we do have another speaker event coming up prior to portfolio review by Gina and Stephen Grimm, who are also UNF alum. They have worked in LA and recently moved back. I know Stephen has done some video work, including work on the show Always Sunny in Philadelphia. And Gina has done some product work with Jennifer Lopez's cosmetic brand. So a really great event that we're going to be having. This one will be in person at UNF the Friday before portfolio review. So this will be April 12th. And then that gets us to another event that we have coming up, just to mark your dates. May 9th, we're going to have Cocktails and Creatives out at Jekyll Brewing. We would love to see everybody come out. For those who aren't aware of what the event is, we do a very loose social with different creatives. You can come out whether you drink or not, just talk with local creatives. I know we have designers come out, we have copywriters. So regardless of your experience, we invite everybody out to kind of connect with the community. So with all of that being said, it's leading up to our portfolio review on April 13th. I almost skipped this slide. So I'm gonna hold on this for a little bit. I want to just kind of throw out all the opportunities because there are multiple different opportunities, whether that be volunteering. If you're a student who's not ready to share their portfolio, if you're not a senior or an emerging junior, and you want to volunteer, it's a great way to connect with the local design community, make some connections, and really see how the event works. So we have volunteer opportunities for the morning, the afternoon, or all day. And then we also have opportunities for those who want to be reviewers to look at some of the students' work and give them feedback. Same thing, you can sign up for a morning shift or an afternoon shift, as well as an all-day shift if you're feeling that. And then the review itself is open for students as well as professionals. So whether you're looking to get your first internship or job, or you're a professional already in the field looking to maybe spruce up your portfolio after a while, you're looking for a new position, this is a really good event for you to come and talk about your work, get some feedback from other local creatives as well. So hoping to see you there April 13th. The sign-up links for all of those opportunities, whether it's a student, professional, reviewer, or volunteer, all of that is on our website. So that's enough from me. I'm going to pass it over to Mike Guiry. And we do have the chat open at the end. If we have any questions, we'll get to that as well. So with further ado, I'll pass it off to Mike.
Oh, thank you, Mason. Thank you, Mason. Can you hear me? I didn't mess up my computer yet. All right. Well, I appreciate you guys having me. I was flattered to be asked to give this presentation. It feels like just yesterday that I was in the classroom, but as I was telling in the beginning, it was 1994. So it's been quite a while since I've been in your shoes, but it hasn't been all that long since I've been in portfolio review. So what I'm going to share with you today are just some insights and things that have worked for me as a presenter, and some tips for you as you're when you're sharing your portfolio. And I've also included just a few things for you to take when you get into your agency life, and stuff I wanted Mason to hear directly on how to give presentations. I'm kidding. All right, these guys are fantastic, but we do have to we do kind of always refine our presentations. We're always working on new tips. So we have a meeting coming up in April to actually do this for the agency. So it's kind of I hope as a student you feel, I'm sure it's you're nervous and it can be overwhelming, but you should feel relaxed and at ease. And I will tell you why. Um, okay. And of course, uh, online presentations are the hardest. So it's great when you're in the room, you can feel the energy of the room. But here's what we'll just go over. Today I want to talk one about the unique advantage you have. And there's actually two unique advantages you have as a creative, as an artist, when you're showing your portfolio and when you're interviewing for jobs and when you're presenting. Show you kind of what I do to prepare for a presentation, how to improve your presentations once you get going, my specific tips for portfolio presentations, and then what I do call my non-negotiables when it comes to agency presentations, which will help you down the line. There's the gambler's golden rule I'll share with you. We're going to talk a little bit. I just want to tell you why, a lot of things people talk about as well. I'm introverted, and they use that as an excuse to sort of give poor presentations, or they limit themselves. I'm going to tell you why that's not, that you won't need that. And then if we have time, I'll tell you the mean thing I did. I know everyone loves Kendrick Kidd, and I'm going to tell you the mean thing I did to Kendrick Kidd when it comes to his first presentation that I only semi regret all these years later. Okay, so the first thing, so I've kind of a unique position that I've been in the business for a long time, all in Jacksonville. I started out in PR in a political consulting agency, moved to account service, and then didn't like that and moved to the copywriting side and kind of went up the creative ranks. So I've done all types of different presentations to all types of different audiences, and each one is slightly different. And at the agency, we have kind of a really broad mix of clients. So globally, we work with animal health, Boehringer Ingelheim, and NAVC. So these are global clients. I was just in Germany and Portugal giving presentations and leading workshops. And that's one sort of type of presentation. We do a lot of national accounts that are business to business with CSX and Crowley, a lot of regional consumer stuff. So now if I'm presenting a TV commercial, that's very different than presenting, an overall, communication strategy. And then we do a lot of fun design accounts, which is an entirely different presentation because oftentimes you're presenting to artists. We're working on a cool project now for Manifest Distilling. They're linked up with Matthew Lillard, the actor, and we're doing these Dungeons and Dragons themes whiskey designs and horror designs that Kendrick is working on. And you're getting input and feedback from artists. So it's an entirely different type of presentation. But there are some consistencies when you go through, and I'll share that with you. So my presenter philosophy, the first thing is, so it's called How to Present Like a Pro. If this presentation still sucks, I'm still a pro, right? You should immediately remove yourself of any stress or burden you feel about what your presentation is, because it's not going to change who you are or what you do or how good you're at it. So you should liberate yourself from being nervous. Don't sweat your portfolio presentation. Don't sweat any presentation. You have everything you need to be good at it. And it's just a matter of applying a slight little process and then trusting yourself. So I mentioned you have a unique advantage. My wife is a marketing recruiter in town. So she places media people, creative people, account service people, all types of people. And so sometimes I'll ask her about interviews and she places people with us. And every time, she'll say, oh, this person was worried about the creative, and the creative person is worried. I have pink hair. Do I cover my tattoos? And it's always the same. No, you're an artist. People like that. They like that you're different than the suits in the room. They think it's part of the experience. So they automatically give artists more leverage to be themselves, which is really, really comforting when you're getting started. When I'm in account mode, it's kind of tough. Like if I have to wear a tie or something like that to fit that mode. But the artists just get to be artists because people like creative people and they like artists and they're fascinated by what you're able to do. All these years later, I'm still fascinated by what an artist does with the words that I write. So it's another way to just release the pressure, be yourself. The other advantage you have that other people in an agency don't have is you know what you did and why you did it. So when you're presenting something, you know why you made that logo that way. You know why you did that ad that way. You know the thought process that went into it because you made it. Our poor media director has to cite numbers that are insane. The population of a county down in some Southwest Georgia city, how many ratings points a station in New Mexico gets. They have to command all these numbers and data and stuff. Whereas I just have to get up and talk about what I did and why I did it, which again is just another advantage for me to be myself and to engage with the audience in a way that's really about who we are and what we do, which makes for a better presentation. So you're not just, kind of rattling at them. This is important that you want to know what you want to say. So before you present your portfolio, you should know what you're going to say about each piece. I write it down. Even now, you can see, like, I just write down some notes. It helps me to kind of script out what I want to say so I don't forget something. If you write it down, you're more inclined to remember it. So for each piece, you want to go through and write down. I'll show you what you should write down and kind of the process to follow. But if you write it down, then you'll remember it and you'll present it better. This is important, especially when you get to the agency side. And so you want to know what you want to say. You have to hone how you say it. There's really no way around it. When you get into a professional situation, your tone, cadence, your speed, the way you control a room, all that matters in presentations. Not everyone in an agency gets to give presentations. We have had incredible artists who we didn't let present because it just didn't suit them and it hurt the work. I was at a meeting once, we were at the PGA Tour, an incredible artist. He did incredible work. He did these logos. And when he presented them, and I was across the table, he closed his eyes and looked up and was showing the logo and was trying to remember everything he wanted to say about it. And the meeting was going terribly, and I couldn't get to him because he was sitting across for me. And so he just lost them not because the work was amazing, but his presentation fell short. And then they ended up actually doing a logo very similar to what we presented that day, but we didn't sell it because we didn't hone what we say, how we say it. I have some tips for you on that one too. One of the things you want to do, so they always say for writers, if you want to be a better writer, you have to read more. And if you want to be a better presenter, you should observe more. So within your social circles, within your sports circles, your academic circles, you want to look at people who present and steal from them. There's stuff that you should absorb. You're being presented to all the time, whether you know it or not. And you like, hey, I like the way they did this, and I like the way they did that, and make that part of your presentation. So I always say I write a lot of speeches too. And in every speech I write, in every presentation I make, there's a little bit of Ric Flair and a little bit of Paul Stanley, right? These are super charismatic entertainers who know how to take the audience on a journey. So for me, it's these guys. You can look at types of presentations. You have entertainers, you have preachers, you have teachers, you have politicians, which, love them, hate them. They're very good communicators. You have educators, and they all present slightly different, and every type is relevant and needs to be part of your sort of presenting skills. But no matter what, you've got an audience, you've got a person, you've got to make it worth their time, and you've got to bring them on a journey. The other part of that is, I'll tell you sort of I think this was my secret weapon. So when I joined the agency, I had 3 kids. They were young, and I read to them a lot. And so I started doing a lot of presentations and I would be asked to present work that I didn't do. I'd be asked to presentations that I wasn't a part of. My wife was working for an agency, and they asked me to go present to Mark Brunell's agent, who was the basis for Jerry Maguire. They wanted me to go present commercial concepts in Dallas to this guy. I was like, this is amazing. And I swear it's going to sound like a gimmick, but it's not. That a big secret of my success is this book right here, Fox and Socks by Dr. Seuss. And the reason I say that is I'm a fast talker. My presentations were better when my kids were little, and I had to read to them every night. We'd read 2, 3 books. You develop a different speaking voice. Dr. Seuss's work in particular, short sentences, punchy sentences, up and down. And that became part of my cadence that I think made me a better presenter, as opposed to someone who talks sort of flat and sticks to the work. You have a book like this, you become part of the characters and you sell it. And that trickled into my presenting skills and really helped me. Now, my kids are all grown. They don't let me read to them anymore. So my skills are declining, but that's just one sort of tip that works works for me. And that's a big part of this is finding what works for you. There's no guaranteed formula, except for on the agency side and how to do agency presentations, but no guaranteed formula on what makes a great presentation, because so much of it is how do you connect with your audience. So let's talk specifically about portfolios. This is a funnel. I thought I was going to build. I messed it up by going full screen. So as I mentioned, you're a storyteller. You're taking your audience on a journey. So what I want to know, if I'm looking at your portfolio and I'm looking at a piece, I want to know, who is this project for? What did they, I look at your piece, I've already judged it. I've already made up my mind. I've already looked at it, assessed it, right? So you have to show me, who's it for? What do they want you to do? Why they wanted you to do that? What they told you. So what did they tell you about the audience, the market? Then what do you know about that? Sort of your own insights that you added to it. What did that make you think? Then what did you do? And then why you made those choices. And then it's in a series, you kind of carry it through all the way. We have artists who are so fantastic. A lot of times I've had to work with them because they flip the work over, and it just, the artistry blows you away. They don't get credit for the thinking that goes into it. And so I've taught to our artists to say, listen, first, before you show me anything, before you show an AE, before you show a client, tell them, what did you ask us to do? That made me think of this insight that I have. And then here's what I did. And then you show the work and you go, and you can see I did this and I did this, and we carried it through to this way. This is a funnel that's very, very operative. It's very simple to follow. And again, what it does is it takes your audience on the journey so that you get credit for what you did. Now, when you're doing your portfolio, I will say this, you got to prepare to be tested. It's a chemistry test as much as a talent test. We don't hire college kids, right? I don't walk in to hire college kids. We're hiring artists. We're hiring talent. All your life up till now, so much of what you do has been based on how old you are, right? If you play sports, you were U12, and you were U15, U16, U17. You're in first grade, second grade, you're a freshman, you're a junior, you're a senior. When you leave school, all that's out the window, and you're working next to and alongside people who are older than your parents, as I so rudely discovered from Mason a couple months ago. So you have to prepare to enter our world. And we don't want college kids. We want talented people. And we're going to test you by saying, I don't like it. I might love it. I'm going to tell you, I don't like it. I want to see how you react to criticism. Then I'm going to tell you that I really do like it, because you want to test the people you're working with too. You want to make sure you're not, there are people in town who are ogres. They give terrible feedback because they don't know what they want. But there's very good people who want to make sure when you're criticized, you can stand up to it, that you can say, okay, I understand that. I see your point of view. I hadn't thought of that. And I'll share an example that I went through. But we're going to test you with some things. We're going to ask you, how long did it take you? Could you have done these two things at once? So be prepared for job interview, chemistry test. Again, people who come to your portfolio, they're coming because they want to be there. They want to get, talent, but be prepared to be tested. So because you don't want to get thrown. We have definitely talked to people where you go, oh, they're good, but I don't know that they're ready. I don't know that they're ready for the speed of the agency. I don't know that they're ready for the pressures of the work. I don't know that they're ready for the type of criticism. In an agency situation, we try to give good feedback to our artists, to our writers, but sometimes you move so fast, you just take it, fix it, change it, and you don't even get to tell them why you did it. And you need people who can roll with the punches that way. So be prepared. I'm going to just briefly on agency presentations, because again, you're thinking of the next level. These to me are the non-negotiables. Again, you're a storyteller. We are travel guides. We are taking people on a journey of, here's what we thought, here's what we did, and here's why it's going to work for you. When you present, the work has to be big. Now, I've been in a lot of meetings where, you've got a huge room if you don't have a screen, and the work is tiny and no one can see it. The text has to be readable. I saw some presentations today where I can't read the copy. I can't. The copy is a big part of the message in the project. It's not just the design. So you've got to make sure that someone looks at it, they can read what it's saying. You have to hold it up. You can't put it down flat on the table, because then the audience has to get up and come look at it. You've got to hold it up, make it big so they can see it. Thank God, now we have screens in most cases. Everyone can see it. But with the screens comes another problem. They can get ahead of you, kind of like what happened on this slide, right? It didn't build. So you've already read the whole slide. So you're already kind of ahead of me, and that's not supposed to happen in a presentation. And when you do a presentation, what you want is what I always want. You've got to have a concept board. So when I say, hey, we have a new campaign for the zoo, and you want people to think about the zoo in ways they haven't before. I'm not going to show you the ad, the poster, whatever it is first. I'm going to show you a concept board that kind of gets the idea across. Picture, line, that's it. Not even the headline. It's just kind of identifies the idea like the zoo is everywhere. Then here's one signature piece, typically a billboard, because a billboard is such a fast read and that's got to convey the idea. So here's a signature piece. Then we go to here. Now here's the expanded. So now look, it's a billboard and it's an ad and it's a bus wrap and it's or the TV commercial comes first, but you sort of work out the priority. And then you move on to the next concept board. We're always presenting 3, 4, 5 ideas at a time. So you go concept board, here's the big idea, signature piece, here's the campaign. And at the end, you have to have a recap slide, because the worst thing in a presentation, you can lose a presentation in a discussion. Like everyone is happy, everyone is good. And then they get to the discussion and people start, poking holes at it. And if it becomes, can you go back to page 5, and you have to search for it, the meeting just goes off the cliff. But if you have one recap board that has a key visual from each, you get to control the conversation. And controlling the conversation at the end of a presentation is almost as important as the presentation itself, because you can corral them and keep them in line with where you want to go. So this works the same. When I showed you the presenter funnel for your portfolio, it is the same in the agency. Not who the project's for. They know who the project's for. But so what did you ask us to do? Why did you want us to do that? What do we know about it? And then what did that make us think? So we do a lot of animal health. So if you say, hey, we need a campaign that's going to make people switch from a topical ointment to an oral ointment, and we wanted to go through the veterinarian, then you kind of just go, okay, hey, we did some other research and we found this, and that made me think of this. And now here's the work, and you kind of follow that flow that I just showed you. And here's how it works as a series. And that sort of structure keeps, one, it helps your presentation because you know what pieces to make and how you present the big idea and how you get it through. And it helps corral the client to keep them on track from going too far off onto side roads and scope creep. This is one that this is kind of an important point where agency culture really matters, and who's presenting the creative work. So we don't sell, we share, and we have some people who lean towards selling. Your media people, they deal with salespeople all the time, so they can get into selling mode and we say, no, we're not trying to sell them anything. We're sharing our thoughts, we're sharing our ideas, we're sharing our perspectives and our recommendations. And that's very different, because when you share, you welcome feedback. If someone has a different idea, hey, you can take that in. If I'm just trying to sell you something I already made and I don't want to change it, they know. And we had our biggest client once. It was early in my career. And she stopped and said, "You guys are different than other agencies." And I said, well, why? And she said, "You don't try to sell us. You don't sell us. You just come in and show us what you did." And I said, "Oh, I kind of thought everybody would do that." So that has become a real advantage for our agency and part of our culture. Here it is. And if you don't like it, we'll make more, because we like making more, as long as you keep it within reason of your budget. So we never sell. This is important. Again, you've got to, and this takes some people have it immediately, some will have to develop the skill, but it's knowing how to read the room or lose the room. I like to say, you're in a band, you've got to keep the rhythm. And so I told you about the art director who closed his eyes and looked up. The other thing that happens in a presentation is you cover the same points. So if we show 5 concepts and you read the body copy a third or fourth time, the room is dead. And if you have a person who's presenting and let's say that they don't like it, you can already tell they don't like this idea, but you are locked into your PowerPoint, you're locked into your script, and you proceed to drag them through it. That's a bad presentation. You have to kind of know when to cut bait and say, hey, I think you get it here. I think we've said enough. Or do you want me to kind of go into more detail? Otherwise, we'll move on to the next concept. And most times they'll say, move to the next concept. And then again, that just goes back to observing, having a good finger on the pulse of what's happening and how the room is working. You've got to trust yourself and your instincts. I mentioned the gambler's golden rule. So if you guys know Kenny Rogers, you got to know when to hold them, when to fold them, know when to walk away, know when to run. You're going to create work that you love. You're going to create work that you are absolutely positive is the answer to the issue. And then someone's going to hit you with something that you hadn't thought of. and you're gonna have to make a decision. All right, do I stand up and argue for this point or counter it, or do you fold? And it's never the same. You have to know the work, the room, and how to answer it. We were at the PGA Tour a long time ago, and the big thing with the PGA Tour was they want the Players Championship to be on par with the Masters. They want them to be perceived as majors. And so we'd come up with this billboard that honest to God, I still love it. It was the golfer, and if they had won Augusta, it said Augusta with a check mark, and then next to it said the Players on this side, and they would look to this one with an empty space next to the check mark, like, I've done this one, I need to do this one. So it was a billboard basically with no words that immediately, it literally put them on the same level. The Players is on the same level of the Masters. The player is turning away from the Masters because he wants to win the Players. And we presented it like, we're going to be in all the books. We're going to go to Cannes. I mean, everyone is going to be, they're going to be writing about this case study for years to come. And then a guy from the PGA Tour said, he said, hey, when I look at it, it makes me think that Mickelson has decided to play Augusta instead of the Players Championship, because on the tour they'd have to literally check that they're coming and send it in on a Friday. And so when he said it, and then I literally just said, I was honest, I said, I hadn't considered that. We didn't know that. And I looked at it and I said, we could probably, there's ways we could do it. But I said, no. And I took the board and just tossed it. I just tossed it across there. I'm like, okay, on to the next campaign. And then they loved it. They the next campaign could have been crap, but they automatically loved it because we showed a willingness to, I'm not going to fight you. I'm not going to argue. You recognize the thought we put into it. I recognize the critique you're giving to us. And rather than beat the dead horse, hey, let's go on to the next one. And it was very successful. That, again, is just something that comes with your own instincts and, getting burned a few times when you get caught pushing something too hard. So I mentioned being introverted isn't an excuse. I am an introvert. I am a big, big introvert, because what that means, introvert and extrovert, really means it's not that you're shy. It's not that you're outgoing. It's how you get your energy. So an introvert needs quiet time and alone time to get through things with the public, to get through all these sort of the hyperness of the world. And an extrovert needs that to get through the slow times of the world when they're alone. I have for years, I ate lunch by myself for, I think, 10 years in the agency. I just needed to go eat by myself. When I'm out of town, I just like to stay in the hotel room at 5 o'clock. I don't want to go anywhere. When I get home, I don't want to talk to people because I have to talk a lot all day with this job. So if you are introverted, you can still be a semi-decent presenter like me. As long as you kind of understand, it's great to be introverted and it's great to be extroverted. It's really about your audience. So it's kind of not who you are, it's who your audience is and how you prepare to give that presentation. So I love the introverts. All the introverts don't unite. Let's celebrate by ourselves on our own time. So don't let that hold you back. Now, before we get into questions, I'm going to tell you, I know everybody loves Kendrick Kidd. You guys know Kendrick Kidd. I know he's a very popular designer. He's a great guy. When he joined the agency, it's something we used to do so much for the PGA Tour. I didn't know him. We were working on separate teams, so I didn't know him. He came in and I assumed I knew he was a big surfer. That's what I knew about him. I know that guy's a big surfer. So I thought he got hired because he could surf good, not design well. And we had a meeting where we were going over concepts for PGA Tour, and he came into my office and said, hey, I got this idea, and it's all about the preparation, and they'll start to, that song, and he proceeded to go, da-na-na-na-na, da-na, 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 like it's a famous classical song, and he's like, the sprinklers would come up, and the popcorn would start popping, and I was like, that's pretty good. I think everyone likes that song. And he was just presenting it to me. Then we went to our first sort of larger team meeting, and he said the name, and I said, oh, how does that song go? And he's brand new, so he sings it to this room of all the creatives. And we're like, oh, that's pretty good. And then we had another, because a lot of meetings. So we go to another meeting now with the account team, and he presented it, and then he said, we have the song. And I said, how does it go again? How's that song go? And then he sang it for this room of people. And then at the end of the meeting, we're recapping it, and I was recapping all the concepts. Right, we're like, this one. I go, Kendrick, what is that song again? And he sang it again. I made him sing it again, and he did it. And then we had one more meeting where I said, how's that song go? And then he looked. Then he knew I'd been hazing him. I'd been hazing him pretty good. And we laughed. And we still laugh. He still reminds me of it. So, but I was testing, like I said in the profile, I got to test this guy. I don't know this guy. I think he's here because he's a good surfer. He seems like he's pretty good, but let's see it. Let's see how he can handle, me, which I now know is not great management, but he's still here. So it's pretty good. So yeah, that's where you want to be, kind of be on your toes, be ready. If you do the prep work, your portfolio presentations are going to be fantastic. I'll flip back if you want to see this slide again. Who's it for? What did they ask you to do? Why did they want you to do that? What did they tell you about the market? What do you know about it? Then what did that make you think? Show me what you did, and then show me why you made the choices you made. And if it's a series, how it expands, how you can do more with it. And if I say, I don't like it, you have to say, okay, what would you have done differently? Might have ideas. And if they're a good portfolio reviewer, they'll tell you, hey, I just want to see how you react to criticism, and they'll share their ideas. If they tell you they don't like it and they offer you nothing, don't work for them, because it's not worth it. I think that's it for me. I apologize. I'm cold, so I feel a little loopy, but I hope I'm still professional.
Yeah, that was great. Thank you. Thank you, Mike. Well, do we have any questions from anyone that we can jump to? Oh, Keith was in the chat saying he liked your Dr. Seuss analogy on with presenting.
Yeah, I mean, you think we don't present to each other. We talk to each other, and honestly, we speak with, improper grammar. You have a shorthand with people, and when you have to get in front of a room to talk, if you haven't practiced speaking out loud and speaking at a voice, you'd be lost. But this book, I swear, got me invited to a lot of presentations because it just kind of helped me, yeah, if you can entertain and if you can hold a 3-year-old's attention and entertain them at the same time, you're going to do okay in the professional world.
Cassie,
Okay,
I see
we
you
are.
have your hand raised. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. So this question is not really for me, but for other people, because of things I've kind of experienced in the industry. Extrovert presenter here, and I love your tip about reading Dr. Seuss, because I was someone who was so excited to get up and talk about my work and share my work that I would just ramble. Like I would just talk and talk and talk, and I would forget my points. So one thing I had to learn was to slow down and read the room and adjust my pacing. But my question is for introverts, it not being an excuse to not, be a good presenter or learn to be a good presenter. What tips do you have for people to kind of get over their initial fears or, hesitations of presenting as an introvert?
One of the big things for me was understanding that definition, because I would feel conflicted. I would say, why can I stand up and talk and do these things, and then I don't want to talk to anyone? I don't want to go out. I don't want to do this. And I thought, am I a phony? Right? Am I a phony when I'm presenting? Because I didn't want to be a phony, but I was like, but I like that part, but then I like nothing. And it was a client who explained it to me, because I said to the client, I hate feeling like I'm a phony when I'm up there presenting. And she said, no, you're not. And this is the definition of what introverted and extroverted is. So much of presenting is freeing yourself of the sort of self-inflicted shackles that we put on ourselves. I'm nervous. I'm shy. I don't like talking. So you're going to do a bad job then. But if you just sort of recognize, okay, this is it. If you follow a script, if you use kind of, the book, you give yourself sort of the process, the tools you need to get through a presentation, and then you do one presentation and it's okay. The next presentation gets better. You find your groove, you find your voice, and that I think it works. I think it works.